In today's episode, I'm going to share with you what I would do if I were going to start my coaching business over again, and the exact 16 things I would do in the exact order to start, grow, and scale to $1 million coaching business. Now, this coaching business grew pretty fast. $170,000 in my first year, $2.4 million in my second year, $4 million in our third year, all the way up to $30 million over the last 7 years. We've sold thousands of digital courses without ever doing a launch. I've filled my live events with thousands of attendees. I've had over 500 clients in my high-level coaching programs. And so what I'm going to share with you takes into consideration everything that worked and a lot that didn't, and what I learned by making a ton of mistakes and looking backwards to see how I'd improve the process. And not only is this going to give you a roadmap, but I'm going to show you how following this roadmap can not only help you make $1 million in your business, whether you're in a leadership coaching business or you have a digital marketing agency or you're a copywriter or a relationship or health coach, but I'm going to show you how you can make $1 million in one weekend, just like my wife and I did. Now, if you're a coach or a consultant or service provider, this is going to change the game for you and give you a precise roadmap that you can follow, whether you're just looking to get started or you're already at grow or scale. And if you're in any other kind of business, 80% of what I'm going to share with you is going to be relevant to you. So let's get started. If I had to start all over again, here's what I'd do. Number one, the first thing that I would do is I would get clear on my strengths and my skills, and I would identify an area of expertise. See, what I believe is that our lives have been intelligently designed. So the positions that you've held in organizations, the natural ways that you look at things, the answer to the question you would ask your friends or family members about, hey, what makes me unique and what do you think is my zone of genius? All of those things have been pieced together to set you up for actually living your purpose in the world. We have a concept called spiritual vision. And what we believe is that when you can align who you've become over the course of your life with your spiritual vision, and you can render that into a business or a way of providing a service or a product to other people, that is the most effective way for you to not only create financial abundance and prosperity for yourself, but to create a life you love and to be able to have the passion and the tenacity to move through the challenges because you're truly aligned with what you're meant to be doing in the world. So the first thing I would do is I would sit down and I would come up with a list of my strengths, my skills, both from my resume and innately as who I've become as a human being. And I would align that with something that I'm really, really passionate about. So for me in this instance, I would look at it, I did, which is why I started this business. And I said, look, what is my background? And I had been in 12-step recovery since I think it was 2009. So I was very familiar with the 12 steps. I had been able to change my mind and get out of my addictive behaviors. I got into personal growth. I loved personal growth. And I had felt like I was stuck at one point in personal growth. And so that made me really curious about how I could not just understand personal development principles, but actually change the habitual way that I was thinking and feeling and acting in my life. And I looked at that and it was like, hey, there's a market for this. I have a unique ability, and I always have, to take complex concepts and break them down into bite-sized chunks and to be able to be clear in my articulation and communication. And so I packaged all of that up and I said, hey, at that time it was, I'm going to create a mindset coaching business. And the other thing that I looked at was the experience that I brought as an entrepreneur. And so I started thinking about not just doing mindset coaching for anybody, but doing mindset coaching for entrepreneurs. So step one is sit down and take a look at who you've become, the skills you've developed, what you're really passionate about, and where there might be a market for you to serve if you were going to bundle all of this stuff up into a product or a service that you could deliver. Step two, and this actually is something that could align with all of the steps I'm going to share with you, is keep getting better and better at what it is that you are passionate about. So when we launch a business, we don't stop studying and growing and learning. In fact, this is the big mistake that a lot of people make. They move into a business and now all of a sudden they're so focused on their business that they're not as focused around learning and growing and developing mastery around the thing that they're delivering in the world. And that's why so many entrepreneurs that I see get stuck at a very low level of income, is because frankly, they're just not that good at what they do. So it's important to allocate about 20% of your time to just continuing to develop mastery. As I was growing my coaching business, I was studying neuroscience, I was studying behavioral psychology, I was studying all the spiritual teachings, I got into quantum theory and quantum mechanics, I was still reading all the books, I was going to the events. I haven't stopped since. going to India, learning in India and doing breath work and meditation and studying in ashrams, getting into third-party tools like MDMA therapy and ayahuasca and indigenous plant medicine, psilocybin, doing brain training, everything that I could get my hands on related to human evolution and personal growth, I keep doing and I keep living. So it's important, this second step, which is you gotta keep doing the things that you've been doing that got you passionate about where you're at. Don't stop. Number 3, get clear on who I serve. I would stop to get clear on okay, out of all the people in the marketplace, who really is my ideal client? And when I first started my journey, I thought that my ideal client was people who are in 12-step recovery, because I was like, well, I can really relate to that story. And a lot of people in 12-step need help with their mindset. And I launched a whole digital course, and my wife and I created these sophisticated online marketing campaigns, and nothing worked because that particular audience or ideal client didn't really have the cash flow to pay for my digital courses and my coaching. So then I pivoted into people who were really interested in law of attraction, but who weren't able to manifest effectively or create change in their life. And same thing happened. And what I learned from that process was a lot of people who are interested in law of attraction are living in scarcity and financial insecurity. And so whether they had the money or not, they were afraid to let it go for my courses and my coaching or my events. And so I finally settled on entrepreneurs. And it helped me understand a really important distinction. When you think about who you serve, a lot of times your ideal client is who you are. So I was an entrepreneur who was struggling with my mindset. And this was a great ideal client for me because not only could I now teach them the different frameworks and tools that I had developed in personal growth, but I was able to apply it specifically to the journey of entrepreneurship and business growth. And I was able to apply what I had learned in my entrepreneurship over the previous 2 decades in terms of sales and marketing and messaging and offers to creating an even more comprehensive program that had not only mindset, but business training as well. And so this allowed me to focus on a smaller segment of the market, even though there's still a lot of entrepreneurs who are looking for help with their business, the solution being mindset. It also gave me an ideal client who could afford my services, because entrepreneurs looked at it as a way to grow their business, not as a way just to solve their emotional and psychological problems. So the third thing is get clear on who you serve. And oftentimes that's an even greater picture of who you've become and who you are and what your journey and experience is. Because the more that you relate to your ideal client, the more your ideal client is going to relate to you. So it just makes sense that 90% of your time, your ideal client is you. Number 4, I'd spend a week or 2 dialing in my business foundations. Before I start to go out and do a lot of sales or marketing or find some magic pill strategy to generate leads, I would get into a course, get into a training, and learn how to really dial in my messaging. I'd learn how to create an enrollment or a sales script, literally a script that I could follow in an enrollment conversation with a potential prospect. I'd get absolutely clear on my offer and what it looks like. In my case, for example, it's a 90-day, coaching program where we have one 60-minute call a week. And I would get clear on the process that I'm going to take them through and what my framework or proprietary methodology is. Why would I do all of these things? Well, because one of the most powerful, magnetic, attractive things at the early stage of business is confidence. And we see that from a lot of people. If confidence is magnetic, and if you can be confident that you are the one, that you are capable of helping other people, you'll attract clients, whether you're standing in line at Starbucks or at an event or at a men's group, or I'm going to share with you my first story of attracting my first client. But the thing that gives you access to confidence, which is magnetic, is clarity. So you've got to be clear on your messaging, on your ideal client, on your offer, on your ability to enroll people. Because if you're not clear at an unconscious level, you'll self-sabotage because you'll be afraid. You'll actually be afraid at the idea of having a conversation with a prospect to turn them into a client because you'll be intimidated by the enrollment conversation because you won't have clarity because you won't have built a sales script. At an unconscious level, you'll be afraid of someone saying, what would it look like to work with you if you haven't dialed in your offer or your proprietary methodology or your benefits or your features or the steps that you would take someone through. So if you don't have clear messaging, and I'm not saying it has to be dialed into 100%, I believe these things that I'm describing that we call the core 4, it's an iterative process. I mean, my ideal client is constantly evolving. My messaging is constantly evolving and getting dialed in. I'm consistently rolling out new offers that are even better suited for the market. And I'm learning to be better at enrollment and persuasion, even though I'm 8 years into this business. But those core 4, you want to get them dialed into about, we have what we call the 70% rule so that you have clarity. Clarity equals confidence. When you're clear on something, you can be confident. When you're unclear on something, you're not confident. And confidence equals clients. And so that equation looks like clarity on these business foundations equals confidence equals being able to enroll your first or next high-paying client. So I would spend my first few weeks and I'd invest in a training program or coaching course that helped me get confidence and clarity on my business foundations. Number 5, now that I'm a clear, confident person who is starting to embody this service that I'm delivering, whether it's helping businesses grow more leads through digital marketing, or whether it's helping people with their copywriting or their branding, or whether it's, helping people with some form of coaching in their relationships or health and functional medicine or mindset or leadership or whatever, now I can step into life with the knowledge, this is step number 5, that I can enroll anyone at any time. I would be a walking weapon of enrollment. And simultaneously, I'd be researching and looking for ways to connect with both other entrepreneurs and potential clients. Why other entrepreneurs? Well, because if you want to get good at anything, you got to surround yourself with other people who are either good already or trying to get good at the same thing. If you want to get good at jujitsu, you got to go into a jujitsu studio and spend time rolling around with other jujitsu players. If you want to get good at recovery and sobriety, then you need to spend time going to 12-step meetings or some other form of recovery and hanging out with other people who are getting sober. If you want to get good at entrepreneurship, you got to find environments where you can hang out with other entrepreneurs, and you got to look for environments where your ideal client might be. And so, for example, if you decide that your ideal client are spiritually oriented people that practice yoga, who are wanting to integrate their spirituality at a deeper level and create more financial abundance and prosperity in their life, then you need to be hanging out in a yoga studio. Then you need to be going to spiritual conferences. Then you need to be chilling at the vegan restaurant. You know what I mean? Those are your environments. Or find a spiritual meetup or group within your local community and hang out with other people who are seeking spiritual solutions that you have. And so I'd go out again, knowing that at any moment in time, I can meet someone who could be my perfect ideal client, and I now have the skills and the clarity to enroll them into an offer that I'm absolutely clear and confident in. And I would be seeking ecosystems or environments where other entrepreneurs and other types of people that I'm looking to enroll into my programs or engage in my services would be hanging out. That's number 5, right? I'm now living my same life more intentionally and with the knowledge that I can enroll anybody at any point in time. Number 6, I would focus on enrolling people one-on-one. So one-on-one delivery of your services, again, whether it's digital marketing services, copywriting services, coaching services, is the least barrier to objection, right? People want to work hands-on. A lot of people don't want to take a digital course. That doesn't mean we can't enroll them downstream into our digital courses. They may not be too hip to doing a group coaching program. They may not be available for a live event. If you can make yourself available to working one-on-one with people at the early stages, which is exactly what I do if I had to start all over, that's what I would do. You can also charge the most for one-on-one services. And so once I got clear on what I wanted to do, and I realized that the universe will deliver to me if I take proper action, it will align up situations and rendezvous and synchronicities for me to meet people who can need what I have. I was at a board meeting for a company that I was running at the time with another CEO from another company, and we had developed a great relationship, and he knew that I was starting to do this coaching business, and he said, "Hey, would you mind coaching my son?" I said, "Well, what's going on with your son?" He said, "He's 19 years old. He's got social anxiety. He's in his freshman year of college." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'll coach him." So I started coaching the son of the CEO. And then I was in one of my 12-step meetings, and we would grab dinner after my meetings, and I was talking to the guys that were in my group, and one of them said, "Hey, can we have a conversation? Like, I really love the stuff that you're sharing around personal growth and what you're learning outside of recovery." And I had a conversation with him, and he said, "I'd be interested in coaching with you." Now, what was cool about this guy was that he was a Major League Baseball player, 11 years in the league. And so this allowed me to start reverse engineering back into my messaging or some of my testimonials that, like, I was working with a professional Major League Baseball player. It's just a dude from my 12-step recovery. And the 19-year-old, I was charging $150 a session. The Major League Baseball player, I kicked it up to $3,500 a session, right? One session a week, around $1,400 a month. And then I started learning offer theory, and I realized rather than charging per session, I needed to create a package, like a 90-day package. So I got clear on my offer. And during that period of time, my wife and I had decided to invest pretty much our entire bank account in a Tony Robbins program called the Platinum Partner Program. It was my bank account, her bank account, and 3 credit cards in order to spend a year in the Tony Robbins world. And so I'm hanging out in environments, I'm investing in being in environments with my ideal client. As I got clear on it, I was like, well, it's cool that I'm coaching this 19-year-old kid. It's cool that I'm coaching this Major League Baseball player, but entrepreneurs are really my ideal client. Now I'm hanging out with a bunch of business owners, and I'm at this event, and I'm having dinner with a bunch of other people from the Tony Robbins community. And I had already decided that I was going to start charging a package at a premium price. And this is actually a really funny story. I'll tell you this very quickly. I was in India studying with a bunch of monks. And one of the monks said to me, hey, Dave, how much do you charge for helping people? What you do is really, really valuable. And at that time, I was coaching the 19-year-old. And I said, well, I charge around $125, $150 an hour per session. And he said, oh, David G. He said, you need to increase your prices. Like I'm getting business advice from a monk, right? It's the craziest. My life is just the craziest story. So I'm like, well, how much should I charge, Uma G? And Uma goes, oh, David G, you must charge $100,000 a year. And I'm like, monk, you are out of your mind. I don't know what monk shit you've been smoking, but there's no way I'm going from charging, $150 something a month or a session with a 19-year-old kid to charging people $100,000 a year. He said, listen, let me give you some advice. And we were at this place because Tony Robbins had recommended it years ago. He says, when are you going to the next Tony event? I said, in about 3 weeks. He said, well, listen, talk to Tony and you'll get a high-paying client. Hey, it's David. Quick announcement before we get back to your episode. Our annual event, the Powerful Living Experience, is coming up. There's a link in the show notes, or you can visit powerfullivingexperience.com. Check out the video of last year's event. We're going to be bringing together 1,000 impact-driven entrepreneurs, leaders, and game changers to spend 3 days doing what matters most. Going really, really deep on identifying the limiting beliefs and subconscious programs that are still preventing you from your full potential, and going through deep experientials and trainings and transforming them. We're also going to be getting into concepts like wealth creation, purpose, greatness, money, relationships, health. And if you're an entrepreneur, we're going to be spending about 20% of that event opening up my business playbook, the same strategies and tactics and techniques that we use to go from $0 to $30 million in an impact-driven business, while spending 90% of my time doing what I love. There's nothing like the Powerful Living Experience, Inc. named it a top 3 must-attend personal development event for entrepreneurs and leaders, and I want to see you there. We've got some discounted tickets right now, plus some additional bonuses. Again, all the information is in the link in the show notes, or you can jump on over to powerfullivingexperience.com, get registered, and I will plan on seeing you there along with 1,000 other impact-driven, incredible members of our community for 3 days that you will never forget. And now, back to your regularly scheduled episode. I was like, talk to Tony and get a high-paying client. Like, what is this monk talking about? So 3 weeks later, I'm in Las Vegas at Business Mastery. And each time I was at an event, I was very intentional, and I would walk up to Tony during one of the breaks. I mean, he's in a room with like 3,000 people, but it's like I've paid $180,000 for this program. I'm walking up and I'm asking Tony a question at every event. So every time I'd be intentional, I'd go up during one of the breaks, and Tony was on stage reviewing his notes, and he'd see me standing over there. And I'm a big dude. I'm 6'7". Tony's 6'7". I've got like half an inch on Tony Robbins, although he's like 4 times the size of me because his chest is the size of a barrel. And he walks over, and so I'm planning on asking Tony a question. But at this event, I hadn't really thought about what question I was going to ask him. So I'm on one of the breaks, and all of a sudden my phone rings, and it's the monk in India. He's like, oh, David G, how are you doing? And I could see him like bobbling his head over the phone. And I'm like, I'm good. How are you, Uma G? He said, good. Did you ever ask Tony the question? And I said, well, what question? He said, well, I said, talk to Tony. You'll get a client. I said, well, I'm at the Tony event right now. What question do I ask him? And he said, just ask Tony what comes to mind. So I walk up to Tony Robbins and I said, well, Tony, what comes to mind when you think about the business, the coaching business that I'm trying to grow? And Tony goes, breakthroughs. And I was like, breakthroughs? He's like, yeah, create breakthroughs. Find an Olympic athlete who's down on his luck, help him achieve a gold medal. Find a Grammy Award winning, artist and help them get back on track after they've gotten into depression or addiction. Breakthroughs, create a breakthrough. And I like walk away and I'm like, breakthroughs. I'm like, I just spent $180,000 for breakthroughs. So I'm at dinner and I'm like, talk to Tony, get a client. Like what a bunch of BS. I thought he was going to give me like Andre Agassi or one of his like hedge fund managers. Like, hey, Dave, I don't have time to coach these billion-dollar clients anymore. Would you take a couple of them? Talk to Tony, get a client. So I end up going to dinner with a bunch of these platinum partner people. They all see me asking Tony a question because it's 2 giant guys having a conversation. They're like, hey, what'd you ask Tony? I said, well, I asked him, like, when he thinks about my coaching business, like, what comes to mind? Any suggestions he has? They said, well, what did he say? I said, well, he said breakthroughs. And they're like, that's it? I said, yeah, that's it. So one of the platinum partners had a friend that joined us for dinner named Ruben. And so Ruben goes, well, what do you do? So I start laying down that messaging that I spent time focusing on, right? What makes me different? Telling a little bit of my story. What's my proprietary methodology? So I talked to Ruben for about an hour. He's like, yeah, but Tony Robbins does mindset coaching. Like, what makes your coaching different? I'm like, well, what I believe is this. And I just started laying down tracks. Next morning, I'm waiting in line at like 5 a.m. to get into the Tony Robbins event because my wife has to sit in the front row because she's crazy and I'm crazy. So we got to be first in line. And we're waiting in line, and all of a sudden I hear that guy Ruben running down the hallway. He's like, Dave, hey, I couldn't stop thinking about the conversation we had last night. What would it look like to work with you? So all of a sudden I got the monk in the back of my mind. Monk is like, it's $100K to work with you. And I'm arguing with the monk in my head. I'm like, Monk, you're crazy. But what I end up saying to this guy is, listen, I normally charge $100,000 a year. Keep in mind, I'm charging $150 a session. Listen, Ruben, I usually charge $100,000 a year, but why don't we start on a 6-month agreement at $5,000 a month? We'll coach once a week. Ruben goes, great. Send me the contract. Can I have my first session on Friday? And I was like, holy shit. I just got a $5,000 a month client. And then in the back of my head, I heard the monk go, talk to Tony, you get a client. I was like, oh my God. So I would focus on enrolling people one-on-one, and I would be out living my life, and I'd be putting myself into ecosystems or environments with other entrepreneurs, because you're building a business, and environments where your ideal client is. And I would be ready to have a conversation at any point in time. That's step number 6. Step number 7, I'd start to build a presentation. I think presentations are the killer app strategy. A presentation allows you to share your story. It allows you to share your knowledge. You can start to wrap up, and this is actually what we teach in our business curriculum. You can take those core 4, your messaging, your ideal client, your offer, some enrollment and persuasion tactics. You can weave that into a presentation where you're sharing your knowledge and expertise. And as people hear your presentation and they hear your story of before and after, and they identify with their now story of before, if you deliver a presentation powerfully, they're going to come up to you afterwards and say, hey, what would it look like to work with you? Essentially, that hour-long conversation I had with that guy Ruben was just a presentation. But step 7 is build a presentation. Because step 8 is, if you build it, they will come. You will start making yourself available for presentation opportunities. And I would look for opportunities to present. Why? Because now you're not having one-on-one enrollment conversations anymore. You're not waiting for someone to come up to you at a Tony Robbins event. You're not waiting to meet someone who the universe brings you at a Starbucks. You're now intentionally taking your knowledge and expertise like it's packed up in a magic suitcase, and you're going out and delivering this information that has translated itself through you over the course of the beautiful hero's journey of your life, and you're delivering your magic work in the world. And there are people who are going to benefit from it who never hire you. And there are going to be people who benefit from it who are going to want to work with you like yesterday. And so now you start looking for opportunities to present. You go, well, where is my ideal client? Okay, if it's spiritual yogis and yoginis, then after the 6 o'clock yoga class, you ask the yoga teacher or instructor, can I do a 45-minute presentation on spiritual wealth and abundance? Maybe your ideal client is, women who are looking to reclaim their femininity and let go of the masculine mask. So you start presenting to women's groups or wherever women's executives, conferences where women executives are organizing. There's men's groups, women's groups, conferences, meetups. There are a million different opportunities for you to go and share your knowledge and expertise, make an impact, and enroll multiple high-paying clients at once. And so my first opportunity was a guy I met in the Tony Robbins world. I guess this is just like go join the Tony Robbins world. But no, invest in yourself is the point. Find communities you resonate with and invest in yourself, because you'll get a multiple return on that investment. Let go of what little money you have so that you can make room for so much more. I met a guy named AJ in the Tony Robbins world, and because we were hanging out in these like super expensive retreats that we were going on, he got to know me over time. He's like, man, I love your personal growth stuff. It's specific for entrepreneurs. And he called me up one day and said, hey, I'm part of this business networking group called Vistage. There's like 15 of us in this Atlanta business networking group, and we meet every month. And I pitched the chair on having you come and present. And she's all about it. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I fly up to Atlanta. I do this presentation for 15 people. At the end, I say, if anybody wants to go deeper into this and explore working together, let me know. 5 people scheduled a follow-up call with me. 3 became clients. It was like a $30,000 presentation. Probably more than that based on what I was charging at that point in time. I think I was charging $5,000 a month for 6 months. That's $30,000. That was the $90,000 presentation. One afternoon in Atlanta. This is where business starts to become game-changing. I mean, $90,000 from one presentation will change anyone's life. It changed mine. Now I had the resources to stop living in financial insecurity and start investing in my business. I think at that point in time, Carol and I hired an online business manager. This is how you start to grow and scale your business. So that's step 8. Look for speaking opportunities. In the beginning, they'll be free. Step 9 is start investing in speaking opportunities. Once I realized the power of presentations and getting in a room full of my ideal client, in my case, it was entrepreneurs looking to grow their business who were constantly seeking these magic pill strategies, not realizing that the root cause of their challenges and the root solution was their mindset. I started looking for opportunities to actually pay to get on stage. There was a woman named Angelique Ruers. She had a $40,000 speaking spot. Day 1 of her event, 60 minutes on stage, and I could present an offer. So it was scary as shit. It was a lot of money, but I did the math, and I'm like, if I just pick up a couple of clients, I'm going to get a return on my investment. Invested the $40K, went and spoke, enrolled like 12 people into my one-on-one coaching. It was a game changer. It was an absolute game changer. Hey, anybody here want to go deeper into this? Let me know. We'll schedule a free consultation after this presentation. I don't remember what it was. I think I did 40 consultations, but ended up enrolling like 10 to 12 one-on-one clients. It was an absolute game changer. Now, at that point in time, what happens, and this is step number 10, right? You rinse, wash, and repeat until you get too busy working one-on-one. And at that point in time, you increase your prices and you launch a group coaching program. See, there's going to be a point at which you've now gotten consistent and predictable with the number one strategy that I recommend for marketing your business as an expert-based entrepreneur, which is presentations. You'll be able to anticipate, I can't take any more one-on-one clients. And at that point in time, you increase your prices and you launch a group program. And that's what I did. So step 10, I launched my group coaching program, started filling it from my speaking opportunities and other people that I would meet through networking and hanging out with other entrepreneurs in environments where my ideal client lived. And I delivered my first coaching program. And then I moved on to step 11. After I delivered my first group program, I created a course. I learned so much from delivering my first group program. I think it started on like February 1st and I did it for 12 weeks. So it ended on February, March, April, May 1st, right? Because a group program, when you launch it at first, like has a starting point and an ending point. And then I created a course because I'd learned so much and I'd gotten much better at what I did. So I created a digital program. You may have even been through the program. It's called Mind Hack. Over 3,000 people have been through my Mind Hack course and then eventually the whole human framework. And so now, rather than getting on stage and setting myself up with 40 consultations, I started selling my digital course from stage. So instead of 40 consultations, I'd sell 40 $500 courses and I'd make 20 grand to liquidate the expense of my investment to speak on stage. And now I would give a free consultation to anybody who actually bought my course. Now I'm having better conversations with people who already pulled out their credit card to work with me. Right. And so there's a lot of confusion in the marketplace. Like there's some teachers and gurus out there who are like, just create a digital course and create an online mastermind. It's like, no, that's not what you start with. There's a natural point at which it makes sense. And that is codifying the information of your program after you've delivered it in a group environment, which only comes after you can no longer have the capacity to work with people one-on-one. There's a natural intelligent growth to your business. Start step 12 is I started selling my digital course from stage and having better conversations with people. And then there would be some people who still wanted to work with me one-on-one at a premium price. Like it was getting really expensive, right? It was like 80, 100. Now it was 100 grand a year to work with me, right? Now it's even more than that. And then people who couldn't afford to make that level of investment would move into my group program. Step 13 is now you're making money. So you can hire someone to build you a small online funnel to capture leads, a lead magnet, a free ebook, a video series. You can put a little bit of an ad spend into that on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, right? Again, you've got the money to hire a consultant or maybe somebody on your team, a digital marketing consultant. Now you're good enough too for your online marketing to start working because you've delivered your presentation so many times and you've continued to learn. You're spending 20% of your time developing mastery, like you're becoming an expert. And that shows. Now someone downloads something from you. They're watching you on video. You're used to presenting. You're good on video now. And now this little small online marketing funnel can either start to work immediately or you're generating leads that you'll monetize on the back end. You might have to lay out a little bit of cash and wait a little bit of time before you get that return on ad spend. But you can do it now because you've got some money and you've got the money to hire a consultant. That's step 13. Step 14, I'd add a few more people to my team. This is exactly what Carol and I did. We took the, couple $100,000 now that we were making, we reinvested it into an online business manager, a copywriter, a salesperson. I hired and trained a coach so that I wasn't the only one delivering my services. Now things start to grow and scale, right? Now you're not doing the enrollment conversations anymore. Now you're not having to do all of the fulfillment. That takes us to step 15. At this point in time, I'd start to organize to have an event. Could be a virtual event, could be a live event. And I would invite all of my existing clients. I would market to my email list and convert some of my prospects into participants in my event. And anybody who bought a ticket, I would give them an opportunity to bring a friend. So we did this for our first event. We put 330 people in our room. And when we did that, we moved to step 16, which is I'd make a $25,000 group coaching offer, or might make a high-level integration offer. If you're a digital marketing agency, it's like a $30K do it for you or do it with you service. If you're a copywriter, right, it's like a series of sales pages and campaigns. If you're in any type of education, financial education or coaching, health education or coaching, it's a 1-year program. And the idea is like, look, if you really want to create this change in your relationship, your finances, your health, it's got to be 1 year. Or it could be an intensive. Maybe they come and spend a day with you at your house or in a location that you rent, but it's $25K, it's $30K. Right now, and I probably need to increase my prices, it's $40,000 if you want to come and spend a day with me, right? So I would make an offer, a high ticket is what it's referred to as offer, most likely into a group coaching program. That's like my legendary program. You get all of my business curriculum, all of my mindset curriculum. You get one-on-one coaching with one of my certified coaches. You get group coaching with my executive team. You get group coaching with me, and we do 3 retreats a year. It's sick. Totally transformative for entrepreneurs who are looking to, start, grow, or scale their businesses. And I make that offer from my 1 year, from my annual event, a 3-day event. Why? Because people are now spending 3 days with you. You're teaching, they're learning, they're building rapport, they're getting to know you, figure out if they vibe with you, right? And then they get to make a decision about a significant investment in creating change in their life. I had this client, she was fantastic. Her name is Shamika Tankerson. Now she's an influencer. And she helps people really tap into their full potential and like break the lineage of financial insecurity to be the first person in their generation to really live an extraordinary financial abundance and prosperity. And she came in, she was already doing $375,000 a year, implementing a lot of some of the earlier stuff that I had talked to you about because it's a great model. But she was stuck. And I was like, hey, let's do $1 million takedown. She's like, I can't do $1 million event. I said, yes, you can. Yes, you can. How many clients have you worked with? Oh, a couple hundred in my lower level coaching programs. Great. We're going to invite them to the event. We're going to give them a bring a friend ticket. You got an email list? Yeah, I got a small email list. Great. We're going to market the event to them. The event is not what we make. The tickets are not what we make our money on. We'll make it a $197 ticket, maybe a $497 VIP. We make our money off the offer. And she was coachable. She did it. Crushed $1 million offer. That was a game changer for her. She was doing $375,000 a year for 4 years in a row. All we did was create a 3-day event and a new offer and promote it to her existing clients and let them bring some friends. $1 million in 1 weekend. I remember when my wife and I did our first $1 million at our first Powerful Living experience. We had 330 people in the room. We had a $1.4 million event. I felt like I robbed the bank. I'm like, this is too easy. I get to do what I love, serving people for 3 days. They become raving fans. 80% of them don't continue to work with us at that moment in time, but that's okay. But 20% do. And we made a $1.4 million. Changed my life. It's changed my family's life forever. It's why I now live in my dream home in Puerto Rico, and I get to homeschool my kid and hire a nanny, and I have a private chef and someone who is my full-time handyman and a housekeeper. And I get to travel anywhere in the world and eat whatever I want to eat. It was a big deal to me. Like back in the day, I had to worry every time I ordered off the menu that something was too expensive or that my wife would order a glass of wine or the filet mignon. I don't want to live that way. And I don't live that way anymore. And it's because I followed this system. And so these are the principles. These are the things, what was it, 16 things that I would do step by step if I had to start my coaching business over again that is the perfect framework for coaches, consultants, service providers, and frankly, 80% is absolutely relevant to any type of business that you're in. Take it step by step, take it one day at a time. And the wrapper for all of this is use the game of business as a way to continue to grow spiritually, emotionally, psychologically. Mindset is the underpinning of all of this. But those are the 16 practical things that I would do if I had to start over today. Hope it was helpful for you. If you've got any questions and you're watching on YouTube, comment in the comment box. Do me a favor, subscribe, hit the bell icon, share this. If you think that there's another fellow entrepreneur or start, grow, or scaler that you think would benefit from this. If you're listening on the audio platforms and you haven't yet, do me a favor, subscribe, and please leave me a rating. You know, all of these small asks that I ask of you to pay it forward, they're the way that we can get this work out to more and more people, because everybody has a dream and everybody's dream is possible. All you need is the right mindset and a simple structure to execute on. And it's so helpful to learn from people who have come before, who have, gone through the unworn path and really paved a new way, and to learn what they have to share. And it's my gift to you. I love you so much, and I want to be able to support you in everything that you want to accomplish in every area of your life. That's why we have this show, and that's why I share this information. So thank you for being here with me, and I will see you in the next episode. Hey, it's David. Hop on over to davidbear.com. Click right here. There's also a link in the show notes, and sign up for our newsletter. You'll get immediate access to my free Mind Hack ebook, as well as a couple of trainings to help you master the inner game. This is a great way to stay informed and be a part of our community and be notified of special announcements. Click below, head on over to the website, get subscribed. If you loved this video, make sure you check out this one or this one, and I will see you in the next video.